Minokajep, good morning, and welcome to Native News Online's Election Coffee Break. This is our weekly morning chat about all things election, so grab a coffee and listen in while we discuss the latest November 2024 election coverage with our very own Native News Online election staff. Like always, with us today is Levi Ricker from Grand Rapids, Michigan, and Marlon Weigel from Wisconsin.
Good morning, Neely. How are you? And Marlon.
Hey, good morning, guys.
Glad to see all of you. Levi, you want to discuss some misinformation that's going around. Could you kind of give us a little bit of insight as to what is being spread?
Well, unfortunately, former President Donald Trump is like the super relayer of false information, misinformation, and some people would call them downright lies. And it really relates to in the aftermath of Hurricane Helene. He's putting out there like there's no support from the federal government. FEMA's not doing their job. Kamala Harris is spending all the money, and all these statements that he's putting out are just nothing but false statements. And so much so that FEMA had a new website just to debunk all the rumors that Trump is putting out. And I just think it's downright disgusting that a former president of the United States not putting value on those human lives, the suffering, the massive suffering that has taken place as a result of the hurricane, one of the worst hurricanes in the history of the United States. They're already talking about it rivals Hurricane Katrina that happened many years ago when George W. Bush was still in the White House. But President Biden has been down there. Kamala Harris has been down there several times. Trump himself has gone down, but he's down there creating a lot of chaos. And the fear is that with all the misinformation, the lies he's spreading, is the fact that people will not even approach FEMA and get the help that's needed. One of the lies is that all the government's doing is giving $750 total, and that's not true. They are giving individuals $750 to help them with the immediate needs as a result of the hurricane. I don't know what the criteria is, but they have that in the FEMA, which really gets funded through dollars that are appropriated from the U.S. Congress and then administered through FEMA. And quite frankly, the president of the United States has to declare certain counties or states as disaster areas before FEMA kicks in. And once that's done, then they can put on the dollars. The president has, in all cases, written those proclamations declaring them disaster areas. And quite frankly, he has upped it from, I think it's 75%. It's usually a local match of state and local governments so they can pull it on FEMA dollars. The president has made it 100%, and I think for the next 90 days, so that they can, and I almost said get back on their feet. This devastation is it's been so catastrophic. Over 200 people as of now, and still hundreds of people missing. So they'll never completely get back on their feet because some of them have lost loved ones. And so, but beyond the $750, there's more money that will be given, and it's all appropriated by Congress. There's a big falsehood that Kamala has spent all the money on illegal migrants, is how I think the president put it, former president put it. That's not true. She doesn't have the power, the authority as the vice president of the United States to administer one dime. It's all done through FEMA because of the way the process works. So those things are just very disturbing to me. And all in this election coverage, we're talking about elections today, all during this election season, and it's just shameful that the former president of the United States, who should be looking out for the well-being of Americans, is down there trying to politicize something that is just ridiculous. I don't think we've ever seen that likes of that in this country. And for those of you who support Donald Trump, you need to really rethink your philosophy on that. And I'm making commentary at this point. So, Marlon, what are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I think I was watching a program where they're interviewing FEMA director or assistant director, and they're really discussing how much time it took away from the relief effort to have to start up this new website. It's costing FEMA dollars to do that, and then not only that, it was discouraging to the FEMA workers that were out, doing the best they can to help as many people as they can. And and then the former president, did what he did, said what he said, and caused a lot of chaos, which is unfortunate.
So, Levi, what kind of impact on Indian country do you think misinformation like this can have?
Well, in this particular case, there are a lot of members of the Eastern Band of the Cherokee Indians based in Asheville, North Carolina, based right down there. Actually, I think they're based in Cherokee, and but it's very close to there. I was down there earlier this summer for the National Congress of American Indians mid-year, so I'm familiar with the area. And quite surprisingly, this hurricane had never come through where the mountains are, and it came right through that valley and just devastated that area. So there are a lot of displaced. The Porch Creek out of Alabama has helped the Eastern Band, and so has the Cherokee Nation, Oklahoma. We did a story just recently about that, and you love to see what the sovereign brothers are doing, right, and sisters are doing to help them. But yeah, that's the kind of impact it has. And I want to say this as well, that times like this, people need to come together as Americans and really work together. There's no Republican, there's no Democrat at this time. It's all Americans trying to work together. And even when it comes to, yes, there's Native Americans, but we are Americans. We try to help each other out, and our elders teach us that as Native Americans, to help one another out during the time of crisis. And that's the Indian way, as the old folks say. So
early voting has already started in, I think, most states at this point. And I was going to ask, have you guys already voted?
I have. I travel a lot. I was at my desk at home, my absentee ballot. And so a week ago Sunday, I filled it out. I took it to the local post office in my hometown. And I'm always one, and I know that there's a lot of skeptics out there saying, you're not supposed to vote by absentee ballot. I went into vote.org, and within 10 to 15 seconds determined that the city clerk's office in my hometown had already recorded it. But it was like Thursday on the October 3rd. So put a smile on my face. Nobody can't change my vote at this point. It's already in there, and hopefully it will be tallied. I don't know when they run it through the machine, but it will tally my vote. And what about you, Marlon? Have you voted?
Yeah, I got my absentee. They started doing mail-in ballots here in Wisconsin, and I requested mine, as soon as that was open, and then mailed it off, and my voting's done.
Now, what about you, Neely? You're a young person. Do you vote?
I have already voted. This is my first time voting via absentee here in Michigan. Usually I would drive home for elections, but since I live in Lansing permanently, but my address is still back at home at my parents' house, I went back and I filled out an absentee request form. I wasn't sure that I was going to get it in the mail, because when I looked to see if it had been sent out or my request had been received, it didn't say I requested one. But then when I got home the other week, it was there. I believe I filled it out at the beginning of this last week, and they have received it. I sent it through the mail. And so I have voted. I even got a little "I voted" sticker with my absentee ballot. Um, so yeah.
That's pretty nice. Now, I guess we're batting 3 for 3 here, right? All of us already voted, and some of us don't know where we're going to be on election night.
Right? We're so busy here at Native News Online, we have to vote ahead.
Yeah, we want to make sure it's recorded. And I personally like absentee ballot in that I don't have to wait in those long lines. And I remember in years past, particularly, I remember one year, years ago, where it was raining, and the lines on election night, the Tuesday of the election night, were so long. I actually had to be outside in the rain, and then I worked my way in, and so I don't have to worry about that now. It's done. It's like I said, I take comfort. I've already verified that the clerk has received it and posted it as being received. So I'm really happy about that, and takes away that long line. So I would encourage any Native American out there who's watching right now, you don't have to be afraid. You do not have to be afraid of voting by mail. It's particularly those in those reservation areas, if you can do it, where you literally have to drive 50 miles to vote or more, which some people tell us it turns into like almost a day process. You drive 2 hours to vote, depending on how bad your roads are on or near your reservation, and then you wait in line on election day for an hour and a half. That's already 3.5 hours, and then you had another 2 coming back. Maybe get lunch. That can turn into a 6-hour day, and it's almost like a work day. So I encourage people all the time: do not be afraid to vote by absentee ballot. It's very critical that we get the vote out. And how's it up there in Wisconsin? Was it easy for you, Marlene? I mean, it sounds like it was.
Yeah, it was pretty easy. I went to myvote.org and requested it through there. I was a little bit confused. I thought I could do early in person, but here in Wisconsin, that doesn't start till the 22nd of October. Mm-hmm. But I remember doing the article for absentee voting, and it was surprising to me that some of the states require an excuse to get your absentee ballot. And I thought that was pretty interesting. Does Michigan require, or is it no excuse? You just request it and
anyone
get it?
in Michigan can request an absentee ballot. And that brings up a very good point, the differences in requirements for voting across the country. I remember during our presidential debate commentary, I believe O.J. Siemens, with 4 Directions, was telling us that in some states you need to have your absentee ballot notarized. And so absentee voting and early voting is not created alike, unfortunately, across the states. So again, we do urge all voters to look up what the guidelines are for their particular state. Your state should have a specific website dedicated to information for voting, where you can go and really see all of the guidelines, requirements, and deadlines as well. Because in some states like Michigan, you can register to vote up to election day, but other states, you unfortunately cannot. In Michigan, we also have in-person early voting. So if that works easier for some people to just drop by their local precinct or county clerk's office, you can do in-person early voting there as well. So yeah.
Well, I'm glad you brought up registration. I think in some cases the deadlines are coming up upon us. So if you haven't registered to vote, we encourage you to register. And also something we have been hearing from a couple of states at least, where they have gone in and stricken people's names off. If they haven't voted or if you moved, that type of thing, you need to go in. And I encourage you to go to, vote.org? That's where I go to. And Marlene mentioned myvote.org. Maybe there's 2 or 3. But if nothing else, go to your Secretary of State's in the state where you live, and then under elections, you should be able to find out the information that's needed. But make sure, I would encourage people to go in, and it's okay to do it. It's just kind of like once a year, they tell you go check your credit report to see what's going on. If there's any unusual activity or negative derogatory information on there. Well, same thing with registration. You may want to just Google it. It takes you seconds to Google and get in there and find out if you are in fact registered. And some people, particularly college students, may not know where to go, but check on all that. And Neil, I know that you still use your residence where you grew up, I guess, or technically your mom moved, I understand, but you still use that address because you were a college student. So that's okay. But in Michigan, I don't know where else, what the other states are like, but please go into your Secretary of State's office website under elections, find out what the guidelines are so that you can be thoroughly up to date, and even check to see where you're registered. Some people move and actually forget. They may not, still driving around with their driver's license with their old residence and haven't even thought about registering to vote. Then what happens when you go in, because I have actually been I worked precincts in the past where they call them challengers. You can go in there and you monitor what people are doing. I have seen where people have the wrong address, and what they will do in some cases, maybe not all, but they'll give you what they call a preventional ballot. And I've always kind of wondered whether those votes ever really count. And so if you want your vote to count, if you're going to go through the motions of even going to register or to vote, wanting to vote, you want to make sure you are registered so you don't have any hangups, and you're dealing with people at the table there when you go in, and they're questioning, are you really who you are? And are you really the resident where you say you are? And maybe you've moved once or twice during the last 4 years or 2 years since you voted last. So it's always good. Good time to do it is right now. And we have written some stories, as Marlon said, absentee ballot registration. At Native News Online, we're just trying to do a great job of really energizing the Native vote. We feel it's really important.
Right, like Levi said, here at Native News Online, we encourage every Native to make their voice heard through their vote. It doesn't matter what party, as long as you vote, we encourage you to get out there and make your voice heard. So with that, I think that's all the time we have. But thank you, Levi and Marlon, for joining for another coffee break.
It's always great. I like having coffee with you guys in the morning. So
it's always nice to start our day out like this.
Yes, we'll do it again soon. Yes.
Miigwech for joining us today, and we
hope everyone
to share our coffee again during our next election coffee break.